Welcome. In today's learning session, we will try and address a key question that often bothers Chief Human Resources Officers, Chief Learning Officers, and Learning and Development Leaders: which learning management system to select from the many available in the market? Which one best fits their respective enterprise? How to differentiate between AI-driven LMS versus normal LMS? What are the benefits of making a migration to an AI-powered LMS? What are the business case benefits and how to go about the change, plus many more questions. If you are also looking for those answers, this video will be just the right guide for you. At Talent Sparks, we provide HR and management consulting services to organizations and have helped many leaders find the best solutions for their teams. So let's dive in. We will discuss best LMS selection options without AI. The skills challenge facing organizations today is accelerating faster than any traditional training infrastructure can respond to. Research suggests that the skills employers need are changing roughly 66% faster in roles most exposed to AI. That pace demands a fundamentally different approach to how we build and deliver learning at scale. An AI-powered LMS is not simply a technology upgrade. When selected and implemented thoughtfully, it becomes the engine through which your organization continuously builds the workforce capabilities that your business strategy depends on. We will begin with a clear definition of what a learning management system actually is and how the category has evolved, because there is a significant difference between the LMS of 10 years ago and what AI-powered platforms are capable of today. Getting that baseline right matters for everything that follows. We will try to cover fair share of guidance on both AI and without AI-powered LMS choices. From there, we will move into the commercial case for AI-driven learning, including real numbers from organizations of comparable scale. We will then get practical, covering how to integrate an AI LMS into your existing technology stack and how to migrate safely from a legacy platform without disrupting your compliance posture. The heart of the session is a structured SWOT analysis of the top global LMS platforms, followed by industry-specific best fit guidance, so we are talking about your context, not a generic market overview. We will ground the analysis in 5 documented real-world case studies, discuss the pitfalls that catch organizations out, and close with the most current analyst and market intelligence from late 2025 and early 2026. We finish with a practical shortlisting framework and 12-month roadmap you can begin using immediately. A learning management system, at its most fundamental level, is a software platform that enables an organization to plan, deliver, track, and report on its training and development activities. Think of it as the operating system for corporate learning. It connects your content libraries, your learners, your managers, and your compliance requirements in one centralized environment. Before evaluating any vendor, it is critical to understand what you are actually assessing. LMS capabilities fall into 2 broad categories: core functionality and differentiating features. Core capabilities include course management, the ability to create, organize, and deploy structured learning content; user management, which covers admin control over roles, access, and learner data; assessment tools such as quizzes and evaluations; and reporting and analytics that surface engagement metrics and program effectiveness. These are table stakes features. Every credible LMS platform will offer them. What distinguishes high-performing platforms are the differentiating features. Integration capability with Zoom, Slack, HRIS, and CRM systems extends the platform's reach. Mobile compatibility ensures learning is not confined to a desk or a browser. AI-driven personalization, which adapts learning paths to individual skill gaps and goals, is increasingly the single most impactful differentiator in terms of learner outcomes. And for organizations that need full control over the platform architecture, open-source options like Moodle offer significant flexibility. When building your evaluation scorecard, weight the differentiators heavily. The LMS market is not static. 4 significant shifts are reshaping what organizations expect from learning platforms in 2026, and any platform you select must be assessed against these trends. Mobile learning is no longer a nice-to-have. 68% of corporate learners now access training on mobile devices. If your LMS is not responsive first by design, you will face an immediate adoption problem. Microlearning is gaining significant traction. Research consistently shows that modules between 4 and 7 minutes in length deliver the strongest retention outcomes. Platforms that support bite-sized, modular content structures see measurably higher course completion rates. AI personalization is moving from emerging trend to expected standard. Organizations that have replaced one-size-fits-all curricula with AI-driven recommendations report learner engagement improvements of over 40%. This is not marginal, this is transformative. Finally, gamification, the use of game mechanics such as points, badges, leaderboards, and progress indicators within learning pathways, has been shown to increase learner motivation and retention by a factor of 3. Any platform that lacks a gamification layer is behind the curve. Underlying these market trends are 4 specific technology forces that are fundamentally reshaping how LMS platforms operate and what you should demand from any shortlisted vendor. Artificial intelligence is the most significant force. Modern AI in LMS platforms does 3 things. It personalizes content based on individual behavior and skill gap data. It automates administrative tasks including enrollments, reminders, and certification alerts. And through predictive analytics, it can identify emerging skills gaps before they impact team performance or business outcomes. Data analytics capabilities have matured significantly. Leading platforms now provide board-level skills intelligence reporting, enabling L&D leaders to demonstrate the commercial impact of learning investment with precision. Virtual and augmented reality are moving beyond pilot stage. Walmart's deployment of VR training delivered a 95% reduction in training time for specific scenarios. The strongest use cases are in safety compliance, high-risk procedures, and customer-facing skills simulations. Integration capability, often described as API-first architecture, has become non-negotiable for enterprise buyers. An LMS that cannot communicate in real time with your HRIS, performance management tools, and content libraries will create data silos that undermine the value of the entire platform. Support for XAPI and SCORM standards remains essential for content library compatibility. The LMS landscape includes both long-established vendors and a new wave of agile, AI-native platforms. Decision-makers should evaluate both. Among established players, Moodle remains the dominant open-source solution. Its extensive customization capability and active global community make it particularly suited to higher education institutions and organizations with in-house technical resource. Blackboard is known for its robust analytics and deep integration capabilities, with a strong presence in higher education and large enterprise. Canvas by Instructure has built a reputation for exceptional user experience and mobile accessibility, and is now widely adopted across universities globally. In the emerging category, Talent LMS has become a favorite among small and medium-sized businesses for its simplicity, rapid deployment, and flexible pricing. Edmodo brings a social learning focus, particularly effective in K-12 and peer-driven learning environments. SonaLearn represents a new generation of AI-native platforms, unifying LMS, learning experience platform capabilities, and content authoring within a single environment powered by an AI agent. Your selection should not default to the largest vendor. Match the vendor category to your organization's size, technical maturity, and learning strategy. When evaluating LMS platforms, 3 foundational dimensions should anchor your assessment framework. These are the criteria that will determine not only whether the platform works today, but whether it will still be the right fit in 3 to 5 years. The first is usability and user experience. An unintuitive platform will fail regardless of its feature set. Prioritize clean navigation, drag and drop course building, mobile responsiveness, and accessibility for non-technical administrators. The measure of a good LMS interface is how quickly a learner can find, start, and complete a course without guidance. The second is integration capability. An LMS that cannot connect to your HRIS, CRM, or performance management tools will create data silos and reduce your overall return on investment. Look for pre-built connectors to Workday and SAP, support for SCORM, XAPI, and LTI standards, REST API access, and single sign-on via SAML or OAuth. The third is scalability and flexibility. The platform you select today must be capable of serving a significantly larger user base in the future, without degradation in performance or experience. Evaluate multi-language support, customizable learning paths, flexible pricing models that scale with growth, and the platform's ability to handle diverse content formats. Selecting the right LMS is only the beginning. Implementation is where the majority of projects either succeed or stall. A structured 4-phase approach significantly reduces risk. Phase 1 is needs assessment. Before touching a vendor proposal or a product demo, you must have clearly defined your training objectives, your user demographics, your technology stack, and your available budget. Without this foundation, vendor comparison becomes subjective rather than evidence-based. Phase 2 is vendor selection. Use a structured scorecard to evaluate shortlisted platforms against your defined criteria. Conduct structured demos that test specific workflows, not just the headline features. Include representative end users in the demo audience. Phase 3 is training and enablement. Invest in role-specific training for learners, administrators, and program owners. Workshops and video libraries both have a role here. Ongoing support channels should be contractually confirmed before go live. Phase 4 is monitoring and adjustment. This is the phase most organizations underinvest in. Establish a quarterly KPI review cycle from day one. On the subject of KPIs, the 5 most important metrics are course completion rate, assessment scores, user engagement measured by frequency and session duration, time to completion as a signal of course design quality, and skills gap closure measured through pre- and post-assessment deltas. Let us now look at exactly how AI changes the value equation. The first is personalized learning paths. In a traditional LMS, a new hire in a sales role and a new hire in an engineering role might both receive the same onboarding program. An AI-powered LMS analyses role, existing skills, career aspiration, and even learning behavior to recommend a pathway that is genuinely relevant. This is the difference between telling everyone to read the same manual and giving each person precisely the chapter they need most. Second is automation of administrative work. I speak with L&D leaders regularly who tell me that their teams spend the majority of their time on enrollment management, chasing completion, and updating certifications. AI automates all of that. It sends reminders, flags expiring certifications, tags and categorizes content, and handles enrollments based on rules you set. That reclaims significant capacity for strategy and design. Third, and this is one I find particularly compelling for organizations your size, is predictive skills analytics. AI can identify a skills gap trending across a business unit months before it manifests as a capability shortfall or a performance issue. That gives L&D the ability to get ahead of the curve rather than responding after the fact. Fourth are conversational AI assistants. Imagine every employee having access to a learning coach that is available around the clock and can instantly surface the right resource, answer a compliance question, or guide someone through a skill-building journey. That is what modern AI assistants inside an LMS can deliver. Fifth is faster content creation. Generative AI can reduce the time to build a new training module from weeks to hours. It can translate content across multiple languages automatically and flag when existing content is out of date. For global organizations managing content in dozens of markets, this is transformative. And finally, stronger engagement and retention. Relevant, personalized learning increases the likelihood that employees complete programs and apply what they learn. More importantly, it signals to employees that the organization is investing in their specific growth, which directly correlates with intent to stay. Taken together, these 6 dimensions represent a step change in what L&D can contribute to business performance. Let us look at some numbers. A 95% reduction in training time from Walmart. Walmart deployed AI-powered virtual reality training across more than 200 U.S. locations, simulating real customer service and operational scenarios. The result was not just faster training, it was measurably better performance in the workplace. A 35% increase in productivity from IBM. IBM's AI-driven learning initiatives, which we will examine in more detail during the case studies, use machine learning to map employee capability and career goals to personalized learning recommendations. The productivity uplift they attributed to this program is striking, and it was underpinned by thoughtful change management that brought employees along with the transition. A 75% reduction in hiring process duration from Unilever. While this particular metric relates to AI and recruitment rather than learning, it is relevant because it demonstrates the organization's broader capability to implement AI at scale across the talent lifecycle. Their learning AI initiatives produced equivalent outcomes in terms of engagement and program participation. And a 30% increase in employee participation in mandatory training from Unilever, achieved specifically by personalizing learning paths using AI. When training feels relevant, people do it. That principle holds regardless of industry. Integration is where many organizations either set themselves up for success or create significant pain down the line. The technology is rarely the hard part. Step 1 is to assess and define. Before you even begin speaking to vendors in any depth, you need a clear picture of your current learning landscape. What skills taxonomies exist, what compliance requirements must be maintained, what content libraries you hold, and what success looks like in measurable terms. This is not a 2-week exercise. Done properly, it takes 4 to 6 weeks, and it provides the foundation for every integration decision that follows. Step 2 is connecting core systems. The value of an AI-powered LMS is entirely dependent on the quality of the data it can access. That means integrating with your HRIS so the platform knows who your people are, what roles they hold, and how they are performing. It means setting up single sign-on through your identity provider so the learner experience is frictionless. And it means connecting your content libraries and establishing data flows using open standards such as SCORM, XAPI, and REST APIs. Step 3 is enabling AI features, and this is where I strongly advocate for a controlled pilot. Do not switch on all AI capabilities globally from day one. Identify a specific business unit, enable AI personalization and recommendation engines for that group, observe the outputs, check for relevance and accuracy, and build confidence before you scale. Step 4 is training your administrators and managers. The platform is only as effective as the people interpreting its outputs. L&D administrators need to understand how to configure the system. People managers need to know how to read skills gap reports and act on recommendations. This investment in enablement is one that organizations routinely underestimate. Step 5 is monitoring and refining. AI models improve with use, but only if you are reviewing their outputs and providing feedback loops. Build a rhythm of reviewing adoption metrics, completion data, and business outcome measures, and use that data to recalibrate the platform over time. Here is the technical integration checklist. Data architecture. Before any AI can personalize learning, it needs a clean, consistent data model. That means a single source of truth for employee identity, role, skills, and performance data. If your HR data is fragmented across legacy systems, that must be addressed as part of the program, not after the fact. Standards compliance. Your new LMS must support the full range of open learning standards, specifically SCORM for legacy content compatibility, XAPI for richer tracking of modern learning activities, LTI for integrating third-party tools, and Open REST APIs for custom integrations. Any vendor that cannot demonstrate all 4 should be viewed with caution. Identity and access management. Single sign-on is non-negotiable for enterprise adoption. Your learners will not use a platform that requires a separate login. Confirm that the vendor supports SAML 2.0 or OAuth 2.0 and that role-based access controls can be aligned to your existing identity provider such as Microsoft Entra or Okta. HRIS and talent stack integration. The AI personalization engine lives or dies on the quality of its connection to your people data. Confirm that your shortlisted vendors have pre-built connectors for your specific HRIS, whether that is Workday, SAP SuccessFactors, Oracle, or another system. Custom API work is possible but adds cost and timeline risk. Governance and data privacy. This is the area I see most frequently addressed too late. Before you go live, you must have documented policies covering what data the AI model uses, how long it is retained, how AI-generated content is reviewed for accuracy and bias, and how you maintain compliance with applicable data protection regulations. Finally, analytics and business intelligence integration. The reporting outputs of your LMS should connect to your existing BI environment so that skills insights, completion data, and learning ROI metrics can sit alongside your other business performance data. Board-level reporting on workforce capability should be a realistic output of this investment. Migration is consistently the area where timelines slip, budgets overrun, and compliance risk is inadvertently introduced. The good news is that with the right approach, all of those risks are entirely manageable. Migration means the structured transfer of your learner records, your content catalog, your historical completion data, your certifications, and your compliance audit trails from the existing system to the new one. The operating word is structured. This is not a data copy exercise. It requires careful mapping, validation, and in many cases, a significant curation of what you actually move across. The 4 principles I would advocate for are these. First, audit before you move. I have worked with organizations that migrated thousands of courses to a new platform only to discover that a third of them were out of date, never used, or duplicated. Every piece of content you migrate has a cost. Use the migration as an opportunity to retire what no longer serves your learners. Second, protect your compliance history above all else. Your completion records and certification data are a legal and regulatory asset. Before you decommission your old system, export and archive that data in a format that is accessible independently of both the old and the new platform. Your audit readiness should never be contingent on any single system being operational. Third, pilot with a small group. Rather than a big bang cutover, identify one business unit, migrate their data and content, run both systems in parallel for a defined period, and validate that the new system is producing identical records and reports before you proceed to the next cohort. Fourth, communicate early and often. The learner experience of a platform migration can be disorienting even when the technology works perfectly. People need advance notice, clear instructions, and a visible support channel. Change resistance is the most common and most avoidable cause of slow adoption post-migration. On the right you can see a typical timeline. 20 weeks from discovery through to full cutover and legacy decommission is achievable for a mid to large organization with a well-resourced program team. Larger and more complex environments may require additional time, particularly if significant data cleansing is required in the first phase. The SWOT assessments on the following 3 slides are drawn from publicly available analyst commentary, vendor documentation, and independent platform comparisons published in 2025 and 2026. Let us begin with the 2 largest independent players. Docebo is a publicly traded, AI-native enterprise learning suite. Its core strength is the depth and maturity of its AI capability. The platform supports content tagging, translation, and personalized recommendation across 47 languages, making it one of the strongest options for global organizations. Its extended enterprise functionality, meaning the ability to train not just employees but also customers and partners from the same platform, is well regarded by analysts and users. Where Docebo is weaker is in truly adaptive learning pathways. The platform is highly automated, but the kind of real-time path adjustment that the newest AI-native entrants offer is still maturing. The feature set is also extensive, which can translate into a longer configuration and setup period. For organizations that want to be live quickly, this is a genuine consideration. The opportunity for Docebo is significant. With over 3,900 enterprise customers and an annual recurring revenue of over $235 million as of Q3 2025, the platform is scaling and continuing to deepen its AI roadmap on infrastructure from AWS Bedrock, Azure OpenAI, and Google Vertex AI. The threat it faces is competitive pressure from newer pure-play AI platforms and from HR suite vendors who are building learning modules directly into their talent products. Cornerstone Galaxy is the single largest player in the corporate LMS market by installed base, with over 7,000 customers globally. Its skills graph, developed through the integration of SkyHive, maps more than 53,000 skills and provides a remarkably comprehensive foundation for skills-based talent management. For organizations that want a fully integrated talent suite covering learning, succession, and performance, Cornerstone remains the most complete option. The historical weakness of Cornerstone is that its architecture was built before the era of generative AI. The Galaxy platform is the company's response to that challenge, and it adds meaningful AI features. But implementation timelines of 6 to 12 months and a high total cost of ownership remain legitimate concerns for organizations comparing it against more agile alternatives. Our second pair of platforms serves quite different market segments, which makes understanding the context of each assessment important. SAP Litmos is positioned primarily around compliance training, sales enablement, and multi-audience training delivery. Its core strength is speed. Litmos is consistently cited for rapid onboarding, which means your teams can be administering and delivering training within days rather than weeks. It has a broad compliance module library, strong multi-language support, and hundreds of pre-built integrations with common enterprise tools. For organizations that need to get a large, distributed, compliance-heavy workforce trained quickly and consistently, Litmos is a very strong fit. The limitations of Litmos tend to surface when organizations want deeper customization or more sophisticated AI personalization. User reviews regularly note that the interface can feel dated compared to AI-native platforms, and the adaptive capability is less advanced than what Docebo or the newer entrants offer. That said, for the use cases Litmos was designed for, these limitations are often not material. The significant opportunity for SAP Litmos lies in its position within the broader SAP ecosystem. For any organization already running SAP SuccessFactors for HR, the integration depth between Litmos and SuccessFactors is a meaningful advantage. The threat it faces is from AI-native platforms that are increasingly matching Litmos on compliance functionality while offering significantly more sophisticated learning personalization. Absorb LMS sits in a different segment, the mid-market and upper mid-market enterprise buyer who needs a platform that is quick to configure, easy to administer, and accessible from mobile devices. Absorb has strong course monetization features, which makes it popular for organizations that sell training externally as a revenue stream, as well as for employee and customer education programs. The honest assessment of Absorb's weakness is that its AI capability is newer and less mature than the category leaders. If advanced AI-driven personalization is a primary selection criterion, Absorb may not be the strongest fit. However, for organizations where speed to value and ease of administration are the dominant priorities, it is a compelling and cost-effective option. The opportunity for Absorb is the significant segment of mid-sized enterprises that have been underserved by enterprise LMS vendors that are too expensive or too complex for their needs. The threat is that as AI capability becomes table stakes, its differentiator on simplicity may narrow. Our third pair represents two quite different philosophical approaches to AI in learning. SonaLearn is what industry analyst Josh Bersin, writing in June 2025, described as the most pure-play AI-native entrant in the LMS market. Where platforms like Docebo and Cornerstone began as traditional LMS products and have added AI capability over time, Sona was built from the ground up around AI. It unifies the LMS, learning experience platform, content authoring, and virtual classroom into a single environment, all orchestrated by its AI agent called Galileo. The implication of that architecture is significant. When an employee searches for help with a topic, Sona does not simply return a list of courses. It synthesizes content, generates contextual guidance, and adapts the learning experience dynamically. For organizations that want to fundamentally reimagine how learning works rather than optimize the existing model, Sona is the most radical option in this analysis. The honest limitation is install base and industry depth. Sona does not yet have the breadth of enterprise references, industry-specific content libraries, or e-commerce functionality that Docebo and Cornerstone have built over many years. For risk-averse procurement teams, that matters. Workday Learning and SAP SuccessFactors Learning represent a third category entirely: learning modules embedded within a broader HR suite. The core proposition is simplicity and integration. If your organization already uses Workday for HR, payroll, and performance management, the Workday Learning module connects to all of that data natively, without any integration project. The same applies to SAP SuccessFactors. The trade-off is feature depth. Suite-based learning modules are typically less feature-rich than dedicated best-of-breed LMS platforms. The AI personalization capabilities of Workday Learning and SuccessFactors Learning are improving but generally lag behind Docebo or Sona on the maturity curve. The question for any organization is this: do you prioritize integration simplicity and a single vendor relationship, or do you prioritize best-in-class learning capability and accept the integration complexity that comes with it? There is no universally correct answer. It depends on your architecture, your talent strategy, and your internal technical capability. There is no single best LMS for every organization. The vendor that is right for a global pharmaceutical company managing complex regulatory compliance across 40 markets is almost certainly not the right vendor for a fast-growing technology scale-up trying to upskill 500 engineers in agile and cloud skills over the next 18 months. Context is everything. This table maps 6 broad industry and organizational contexts to platform fit, and I want to walk through each one. For technology and software companies, the primary learning challenge is the pace of skills change. Engineers, product managers, and data scientists need continuous access to current technical learning, often integrated directly with the tools they use daily. AI-native platforms that support integrations with GitHub, Jira, Slack, and similar developer tooling are the strongest fit here. The ability to surface relevant learning inside the workflow, rather than requiring a separate session in an LMS, is a significant advantage. For large global enterprises with complex HR requirements, the priority shifts to integration, talent management depth, and global scale. Cornerstone Galaxy, Workday Learning, and SAP SuccessFactors are consistently the strongest options in this category, because their suite integrations and skills management capabilities are designed for organizations managing tens of thousands of employees across multiple geographies and regulatory environments. For retail and frontline operations, the key requirements are simplicity, speed, and mobile accessibility. Frontline workers need to be trained quickly, on the devices they actually have, in ways that do not require prolonged time away from operations. Absorb LMS and SAP Litmos both perform strongly here. For manufacturing and regulated industries, compliance is the dominant requirement. Audit trails, certification management, ISO and society-aligned reporting, and robust version control of training content are non-negotiable. SAP Litmos, Cornerstone, and SAP SuccessFactors are the established platforms in this space. For organizations building external training academies, meaning training delivered to customers, channel partners, or franchisees, the extended enterprise capability of Docebo, Absorb LMS, and Intellum makes them the strongest options. Multi-tenant environments, branded portals, and course monetization features are the differentiators here. And finally, for organizations undertaking a genuine AI transformation of their learning function from the ground up, Sana Learn represents the most architecturally aligned option, with its purpose-built AI agent and unified content-to-delivery environment. These 6 dimensions, applied consistently across every vendor you evaluate, will protect you from selection decisions driven by the most compelling demo or the most persistent sales team. Strategic fit is the first and most important dimension. The question is simple. Does this platform support where your organization is going, not just where it is today? That means evaluating whether the vendor's product roadmap aligns with your skills strategy, whether the platform can evolve as your talent management philosophy evolves, and whether the AI features address your specific workforce challenges rather than generic use cases. Integration depth is the second dimension, and it is where many deals fall apart during implementation. You need to validate, not assume, that the vendor has proven, production-ready connectors for your specific HRIS, identity provider, and content libraries. Ask for documented integration references for your exact technology stack. AI maturity is the third dimension and requires the most careful scrutiny. The LMS market is currently experiencing significant AI washing, meaning vendors are marketing basic rule-based automation and simple chatbots as AI capability. The questions to ask are: what specific machine learning models power your personalization engine? How were they trained, and what data do they use? Genuine AI personalization produces measurably different outcomes from genuine personalized pathway generation compared to simple course recommendation. Security and compliance is the fourth dimension. You need SOC 2 Type 2 certification as a minimum for enterprise use. ISO 27001 is increasingly expected. Data residency options matter for organizations operating in jurisdictions with strict data sovereignty requirements. And audit trail completeness is critical for regulated industries. Scalability and localization addresses whether the platform can grow with you. This means proven deployments at your scale, robust multi-language support including right-to-left language capability if relevant, and the extended enterprise features needed for multi-audience programs. And finally, total cost and time to value. Licensing models vary enormously across this market. Some vendors price per active user, others per total user, others by module. Implementation timelines range from weeks to over a year. Total cost of ownership over a 3 to 5 year horizon, including implementation, configuration, ongoing support, and content licenses, must be understood before any commercial commitment. Let us now move from analysis to evidence. The next 3 slides present 5 documented case studies of organizations that have implemented AI-driven learning at scale. Our first case is Walmart. With over 1.5 million employees in the United States alone, Walmart faces a training challenge of almost unimaginable scale. In 2018, they launched a program known as the Walmart Academy, deploying AI-powered virtual reality training across more than 200 U.S. store locations. The VR simulations placed associates inside immersive scenarios, from handling customer complaints to managing the complexity of peak trading periods. The results were striking. Walmart reported a 95% reduction in training time and a 15% improvement in employee performance. Earlier reports also referenced improved engagement scores and reduced staff turnover in trained cohorts. What is instructive about the Walmart case is that the technology was not deployed as a novelty. It was deployed in service of a very specific operational outcome: better prepared associates delivering better customer experiences. The business case was defined before the technology was selected. Our second case is IBM. IBM's challenge was different: keeping a global workforce of highly skilled technical professionals continuously updated as the technology landscape shifted beneath them. Their response was a program called Learning at IBM, anchored by an AI tool called Watson Career Coach. The system analyzes each employee's current skills, their career aspirations, and their performance signals, then recommends personalized learning pathways, mentorship connections, and certification targets. IBM reported a 35% increase in productivity attributable to AI-driven training initiatives, alongside meaningfully higher employee satisfaction and improved course completion rates. What is equally instructive about IBM's experience is how they managed the human dimension of the transition. Early in the rollout, employees were resistant, fearing that AI was evaluating and monitoring them in ways that could disadvantage them. IBM responded by repositioning the tool explicitly as a career support mechanism rather than a performance surveillance tool. That reframing, communicated clearly and consistently, was what unlocked adoption. Our third case is Unilever. Unilever operates in over 190 countries with a workforce that is extraordinarily diverse in terms of role, language, culture, and learning context. Their challenge was to make learning genuinely relevant across that diversity at scale, something that a one-size-fits-all content library fundamentally cannot achieve. Unilever deployed AI-driven analytics to understand individual development needs and curate personalized learning paths across their global workforce. The company reported a 30% increase in employee participation in mandatory training as a direct result of that personalization. This is a number I want to sit with for a moment. Mandatory training completion is typically the most compliance-driven, lowest engagement category of corporate learning. The fact that personalization drove a 30% uplift in participation, even for mandatory content, tells us something profound about what happens when people experience learning as relevant to them. Unilever also deployed AI across their recruitment process, where AI-based candidate assessment reduced the time from application to offer by 75% while simultaneously improving candidate diversity. This illustrates a pattern we see consistently in the most successful AI talent programs. AI applied thoughtfully across the full talent lifecycle creates compounding benefits, not isolated wins. Our fourth case is Accenture. As a professional services firm whose core product is the intellectual capability of its people, Accenture's investment in AI-driven learning is directly tied to its commercial competitiveness. Accenture built an AI-powered learning platform that assesses individual employee skills at a granular level and recommends specific training modules based on that assessment, rather than relying on generic role-based curricula. The company reports a notable increase in both employee engagement and the measured effectiveness of training sessions following implementation. What makes the Accenture case particularly relevant for professional services and knowledge-intensive organizations is the scale of ambition. Accenture has consistently positioned continuous reskilling as a core organizational capability, not a periodic HR initiative. Their AI learning infrastructure is the enabler of that strategy at global scale. Beyond the VR training program, Walmart integrated an AI assistant called My Assistant into its internal employee application, extending access to approximately 50,000 employees. My Assistant helps employees draft documents, schedule meetings, and instantly answer HR and policy-related questions. What is significant here is the convergence of AI learning and AI workplace assistance into a single employee experience. The distinction between learning from a platform and getting help in the flow of work is dissolving. This is a forward-looking signal for your own program design. The most effective AI learning implementations of the next 3 to 5 years will not be those where employees navigate to an LMS to complete a module. They will be those where relevant learning surfaces naturally at the moment of need, inside the tools and workflows where work actually happens. When you evaluate vendors, ask specifically about their strategy for in the flow of work learning and their integrations with Microsoft Teams, Slack, or whichever collaboration environment your employees live in. Now let me synthesize across all 5 cases, because the patterns are more valuable than any individual data point. First, AI delivers its largest gains when it is tied to a specific, measurable workforce outcome defined before implementation, not when it is deployed as a general capability in search of a use case. Second, human-centered change management was a critical success factor in every case, particularly IBM's. Technology that employees do not trust will not be used, regardless of its capability. Third, personalization and automation freed significant time from administrative and repetitive training activities and redirected it toward higher-value learning engagement. The ROI of L&D capacity reclaimed through automation is consistently underestimated in business cases. Fourth, the results compound over time. AI models become more effective as they accumulate more usage data. Organizations that implemented AI learning 5 years ago are seeing better outcomes today than they did in year 1. The earlier you start, the more you benefit from that compounding effect. Pitfalls to watch out for during selection and implementation stages. The first and most pervasive pitfall is AI washing. The LMS market in 2025 and 2026 is flooded with vendors claiming AI capability. In many cases, what they are describing is basic rule-based automation, predefined content playlists, or a chatbot powered by a third-party API that the vendor had no hand in building. When a vendor tells you their platform uses AI, your response should be, which specific machine learning models, trained on what data, producing what measurable personalization outcome? If they cannot answer that question clearly, treat the AI claim with skepticism. The second pitfall is data quality gaps. An AI personalization engine is only as good as the data it works with. If your employee records are incomplete, if your skills taxonomy is outdated, or if your role data does not accurately reflect what people actually do, the AI will produce recommendations that feel irrelevant and learners will disengage immediately. Before you go live with AI features, invest in data quality. It is not glamorous work, but it is the foundation everything else depends on. The third pitfall is change resistance, and it is more dangerous than most organizations anticipate. Employees who believe AI is monitoring their performance, tracking their learning activity to identify underperformers, or replacing human development conversations will not engage with the platform. Proactive, transparent, and repeated communication about what the AI does and does not do is essential. IBM's experience demonstrates this clearly. The fourth pitfall is underestimating migration effort. Every vendor I have ever worked with has told their prospective customers that migration is straightforward. It is almost never straightforward. Historical compliance data, particularly in regulated industries, requires careful mapping, validation, and in some cases manual remediation. Build 30% contingency into any migration timeline the vendor provides. The fifth pitfall is vendor lock-in. Some LMS vendors use proprietary content formats that cannot be easily exported. Some have limited or chargeable data portability. Before you sign a contract, confirm that you can export all of your data, including learner records, content, and completion history, in a standard open format, at any time, at no additional cost. And the sixth pitfall is governance blind spots. AI-generated content can contain inaccuracies. AI recommendation models can reflect and amplify historical biases present in your training data. Without documented policies covering content review, bias monitoring, and AI output audit processes, you are exposed to both compliance risk and reputational risk. No LMS implementation is without risk. Awareness of the most common barriers enables organizations to design mitigation strategies into the program from the outset. Resistance to change is typically the most significant challenge. Employees who are comfortable with existing tools often push back against new systems. The solution is to involve key stakeholders early in vendor selection, communicate the benefits clearly in language relevant to each audience, and ensure role-specific training is available before launch rather than after. Technical compatibility issues are common and frequently underestimated. Integration failures with existing HRIS or CRM systems, or performance issues at user scale, can erode trust in the platform quickly. Rigorous pre-deployment stress testing and close collaboration with your IT team during the connector validation phase are essential. Poor user experience at the interface level drives abandonment. Mandate usability testing with a sample of real end users before committing to any vendor. Mobile-first design should be a baseline requirement, not a premium add-on. Data governance and privacy risks are growing as AI personalization generates increasing volumes of learner data. Define your data governance policy, including retention rules and GDPR alignment, before go live, and ensure your vendor can provide documented support for data protection impact assessments. Insufficient change management is perhaps the most avoidable failure mode. Even a well-configured platform will fail if managers and learners are not prepared and supported. Build a communications plan that begins at least 6 weeks before launch and designate platform champions within each business unit. Finally, organizations consistently underestimate total cost of ownership. The headline license price typically represents 60% or less of the true 3-year investment once implementation, content migration, training, and ongoing support costs are included. Model the full cost before selecting, not after. The commercial structure of your LMS agreement can be as consequential as the platform choice itself. Understanding your options at this stage prevents costly surprises later. There are 3 primary licensing models. A perpetual license involves a one-time fee with full ownership of the software and no recurring cost. This model suits large, stable organizations with strong internal IT capability, but carries high upfront investment and requires self-managed updates. Subscription-based SaaS is the most common model in enterprise LMS in 2026. It involves a monthly or annual fee, includes automatic updates and vendor-managed infrastructure, and scales with your user count. Open-source models, typified by Moodle, are free to use and fully customizable, but carry a hidden cost in the technical resource required to configure, maintain, and update the platform. On pricing structure, flat-rate models charge a fixed fee regardless of user count, which simplifies budgeting for stable headcounts. Tiered or per-user pricing scales with usage, which suits growing organizations. Pay-per-active user models only charge for learners who actually log in, making them well-suited to seasonal or variable training programs. Freemium models allow entry-level access at no cost, with paid tiers unlocking advanced features, which is particularly useful for pilot evaluations before full procurement commitment. Building directly on the pitfalls we just discussed, this slide gives you the 6 questions that every vendor presentation should be required to answer before any shortlisting decision is made. I would recommend incorporating these into your RFP documentation and your demo evaluation criteria. Question 1. What specific AI or machine learning models power your personalization and recommendation features, and how are they trained? This question separates genuine AI capability from marketing language. A credible vendor should be able to describe their models, the data they train on, how they are updated, and what validation processes they use. Question 2. Can you provide reference customers of our size and industry with verifiable outcome data? Not case study brochures, actual reference contacts at comparable organizations who are willing to discuss their experience. If a vendor cannot produce these, that is informative. Question 3. What data do we own, and in what format can we export it if we choose to leave? The answer should be all of it, in open standard formats, at any time, at no cost. Any deviation from that answer requires careful legal and contractual scrutiny. Question 4. How do you handle data privacy, bias monitoring, and human review of AI-generated content? This question tests the maturity of the vendor's AI governance framework. You are looking for documented processes, named responsibilities, and evidence that these are operational rather than aspirational. Question 5. What is the realistic implementation timeline, including data migration, and what resources will we need to provide from our own team? The word realistic is doing a lot of work in that question. Ask for references from previous implementations of similar complexity and validate the timeline against their experience. Question 6. How does pricing scale as we add users, languages, or extended enterprise audiences? LMS pricing models are notoriously complex, and the costs of scaling an initial deployment can be significantly higher than the initial contract suggests. Model your expected growth over 5 years and ask for pricing under each scenario before you commit. The most important market signal, highlighted by Josh Bersin in his June 2025 analysis, is the emergence of a fundamental architectural divide in the LMS market. On one side are traditional architecture platforms that have added AI features on top of an existing system. On the other side are AI-native platforms that were built from the ground up around machine learning and generative AI. Bersin identifies Cornerstone, Docebo, Workday, SAP, and Oracle as the major established vendors, while positioning Sana Learn as the most architecturally pure AI-native entrant. This distinction matters for your decision because the rate of AI innovation is significantly higher on the AI-native side of that divide. From a commercial health perspective, Docebo's reporting from Q3 2025 shows annual recurring revenue of $235.6 million, confirming that enterprise demand for AI-powered learning infrastructure is robust and growing. Docebo's decision to rebuild its AI infrastructure on top of AWS Bedrock, Azure OpenAI, and Google Vertex AI is significant. It means the platform benefits from the rapid advancement of those underlying AI models automatically. In the awards and recognition space, Cypher Learning received a Gold Award in the 2025 Brandon Hall Group Excellence Awards for Best Use of AI for Learning, and was named Forbes Advisor Best Overall LMS. This is notable because it demonstrates that the market is beginning to recognize AI-native challengers alongside the established incumbents. And across independent comparison platforms including D2L, Continue, Intellum, and Cypher Learning's own analysis, the platforms that consistently appear in enterprise shortlists are Docebo, Cornerstone, SAP Litmos, Absorb, and Sana Learn. We are now moving from analysis to action. Every organization's technology environment, regulatory context, talent strategy, and data quality situation is different. Here is a quick 4-step process to get you started. Step 1 is to shortlist 3 to 4 vendors. Using the industry fit table and selection criteria framework we reviewed earlier, apply your specific context to identify the vendors most likely to meet your primary requirements. I would suggest that your shortlist should include no fewer than 3 and no more than 4 platforms. Fewer than 3 does not give you sufficient comparative leverage in commercial negotiations. More than 4 makes the evaluation process unwieldy. Step 2 is to run a scope proof of concept with each shortlisted vendor. Do not rely on polished product demonstrations that are designed to showcase what the platform does best. Instead, design your own proof of concept scenarios based on your actual use cases, your actual data, and your actual content. Ask each vendor to demonstrate AI personalization using a representative sample of your employee data. Evaluate the output for relevance, accuracy, and the quality of the explanations the AI provides. This is the most effective filter available. Step 3 is to score each vendor consistently against your weighted criteria framework. Strategic fit, integration depth, AI maturity, security, scalability, and total cost. The weighting of each criterion should reflect your organization's specific priorities. For a highly regulated manufacturer, compliance and security may deserve double weighting. For a fast-growing technology company, AI maturity and integration with developer tools may dominate. Step 4 is to select your preferred platform, run a phased migration as we outlined earlier, and scale based on pilot learnings. Resist the pressure from vendors or internal stakeholders to accelerate this sequence. The organizations that have experienced the most successful implementations are almost universally those that piloted before they scaled. Here is the indicative 12-month roadmap for taking this program from today to a fully operational AI-powered learning environment. The actual timeline for your program will depend on the complexity of your existing environment, the availability of internal resources, and the migration scope. What I have found is that this framework is realistic for a mid to large organization with a dedicated program team and executive sponsorship. Key takeaways from this presentation. First, an AI-powered LMS is a strategic decision, not a technology procurement. The platform you select will shape what your L&D function can contribute to business performance for the next 5 to 10 years. Evaluated that way, the investment is justified. Evaluated purely as an IT purchase, it will be under-resourced and under-delivered. Second, integration and migration succeed when they are phased, piloted, and backed by clean HR data and clear governance. The organizations that rush these phases consistently experience the highest rates of program failure and remediation cost. Patience in the first 6 months creates the conditions for accelerating performance in years 2, 3, and beyond. Third, no single vendor wins every category. The right platform for your organization is the one that fits your specific industry context, your existing technology stack, your workforce complexity, and your ambition for what learning can contribute. Use the criteria framework we discussed to make that determination systematically, not on the basis of which demonstration was most impressive. Fourth, the evidence from Walmart, IBM, Unilever, and Accenture is clear. When AI is applied to learning with a specific, measurable workforce outcome in view, the results are significant. The common thread across every successful implementation is not the technology. It is the clarity of purpose with which the technology was deployed. Fifth, watch for AI washing, protect your data portability, and insist on a weighted proof of concept before any commercial commitment. These 3 practices, applied consistently, will protect you from the majority of the risk in this decision. Here are some of the reference links that were consulted during this study and guide. Thank you for your time. If you found this helpful, please subscribe to the channel for more interesting learnings coming up in the space of an hour. Do share the same onwards within your friends and fraternity so that it helps someone else. For queries and insights or consulting further, please write to us on hello@talentsparks.com or on the email on this channel. We look forward to your comments and suggestions and experience sharing. Thank you and see you in the next one.